Welcome back to the Fire Your Shrink video blog. I haven't posted in about 2 weeks now, primarily because I've been very busy, but I thought it was time to provide an update on where things are and where things are going. I'm actually going to record several videos today dealing with a number of different issues that I've been confronting. First, the good news. After my Hewlett-Packard laptop died, I'm pleased to report that I am the proud new owner of a MacBook. The one benefit of the MacBook is it will allow me to edit these videos a little better than I could previously. So I'm happy to have the new MacBook. It's taken a little while for me to learn how to edit the videos, but slowly but surely it's coming along. Interestingly enough, in terms of my progress, the area that's the easiest and been making the most progress is actually the book itself. On the book, I sent it out for proofreading or copy editing through a professional editor, and she sent back for her comments. And for all intents and purposes, she had glowing reviews for the book. The editorial changes were minimal, mostly just to conform with the style manual, the Chicago Manual of Style that the publisher requires. So those changes were actually quite minimal. The real problem I've been running into on the site has been with respect to branding. And let me talk to you about the different pieces of the branding for the overall Fire Your Shrink business, and then walk through the progress on each one. I think the most important element from a branding perspective is the book itself. Clearly the book title is already well known. It's going to be called Fire Your Shrink and Read This Book Instead, and the subtitle is going to be Fix Your Life for Less Than the Cost of a Copay. The problem is that I can't go to publication until I have a book cover. And in order to get a book cover, I need a graphic designer. Finding a graphic designer has been the bane of my existence for the last couple of weeks. I've been reaching out to different friends, and they've given me references, and I've called those graphic designers, and in most cases they haven't responded back. I've scoured the internet. There are a lot of graphic designers out there, but in a lot of cases I didn't like the work they were doing. A lot of those designers are doing book covers, but they tend to be very dark, have dark imagery, and that's not what I'm looking for. So I'm looking for, or I have been looking for, a designer that can produce for me a book cover that's going to meet the requirements I have, which I'll talk about in a few minutes, but also make something that's going to create something that's going to make the book pop on the shelves. Part of the reason I selected the title that I did is because I think that people walking by on the shelves, when they see the title, will actually look at this title and pick up the book and take a look at it. And that's a huge step forward. However, if they don't actually see the title, I'd like them to look at the book and have the cover of the book pop out at them. And the concept that I'm going with on the book, on the Fire Your Shrink, given the Fire Your Shrink concept, is effectively a calendar. So the book itself will look like the page of a calendar, and I think it's going to be, the cover will be one page of the calendar, the front cover. The rear cover will be another page of the calendar, and on the back spine will be rings, so that if you were to lie the book flat down, it would actually look like a calendar, or a desk calendar. And what I've been trying to do is find someone who could take the desk calendar concept and make it a little bit more abstract. And the reason I'm using the calendar concept is because the goal is to have a calendar entry on the calendar that says you have an appointment with your shrink, and then that will be crossed out and will be replaced by the lettering Fire Your Shrink and Read This Book Instead. I'm hoping to get a nice abstract design for the calendar rather than a very literal calendar, and I'm also trying to get a whimsical approach in terms of the lettering, using color probably, because the book has an in-your-face tone to it. It's also somewhat serious, but the title of the book has an in-your-face tone, and I think it would be nice to have a very whimsical cover on it. So as of today is Wednesday. As of Tuesday night, I've found someone who is going to be putting together a design of the cover for me. He hopes to have a first draft for me to look at on Friday night, but not wanting to put all my eggs in one basket, I also have another graphic designer who I'm working with, who is also going to be putting together designs for the calendar for me. And she was supposed to have those over the last weekend, but she's now pushing it into next week, hence the not all your eggs in one basket concept. I need to have more than one person working on this at any given time, or there's no way for me to make sure that it will be done on time. My goal still being to publish the book in mid-January. So that's what's happening with the book cover, and finally I'm a little bit pleased that that's moving forward. With respect to the overall branding, aside from the book, there are 3 brands that I'm looking to create. Each is a little bit different and serves a little bit of a different purpose. So let's start with the first brand, which is my own name, or David M. Klein. I'm using the middle initial in it. And the goal is to brand myself as a Dr. Phil type or a Tony Robbins type, with the intention that in the long run I will be doing one-on-one coaching, or I will be putting on seminars or writing additional books, and I want my name to begin to attach to my product line. So you've got the first mark there, or the first brand there, which is my name. The second brand that I'm working with is the Fire Your Shrink brand. Now, my expectation up until this past week was that the Fire Your Shrink brand was going to be the primary brand that I was going to be operating under. And I will effectively build the online community I'm about to discuss. I'll build it under the Fire Your Shrink brand, and build or write additional books based on the Fire Your Shrink brand. So there might be books like Fire Your Shrink and Fix Your Relationship, Fire Your Shrink and Lose Weight, in addition to other books that I'm thinking about writing, including one on business. So the Fire Your Shrink brand, up until this past week, was really the most important one that I was going to be operating under. The third brand is called the 30-Day Change Challenge. And this brand really ties into the community. I don't view what I'm doing as writing a book. I view what I'm doing as creating an online community, and I'm going to be using the online community both to sell books and to sell additional services. And the point of the online community is hopefully it will be the first online community that's ever built around the concept of having and helping people change their lives. And one of the ways to do that is through the 30-Day Change Challenge. One of the concepts I talk about in the book is this notion that it takes 30 days to change a bad habit. And on the website, what the 30-Day Change Challenge is going to allow you to do is an individual will come there and then indicate something that they would like to challenge themselves to change in the next 30 days. That will then feed over into a forum, and people can encourage the person who challenged themselves to meet their challenge. People can comment on it, people can provide support, people can provide information on their own experiences relating to that area, such as getting into a better relationship or finding a new job. And every day the system is going to go back to the person who decided they wanted to challenge themselves and ask them for their progress. So over the course of 30 days, there's going to be this back and forth between the person and the community will be providing support to enable that person to hopefully and successfully complete their challenge. So the 30-Day Change Challenge is a very important branding element for how I want to get people over to my website. It will probably be used very heavily in advertisements, primarily on Facebook. And the reason for that is because it's easier to give away a service that helps people and then try to sell a product than it is to try to sell the product directly. So we've got the 3 branding elements: David M. Klein, Fire Your Shrink, and 30-Day Change Challenge. Now, one problem that I had with Fire Your Shrink is that I have not been able to get the fireyourshrink.com domain name because somebody already owns that. I do own fireyourshrink.co, fireyourshrink.info, fireyourshrink.biz, but I couldn't get the .com name. And I plan to operate under Fire Your Shrink with hyphens between the words as my primary domain, although I was never satisfied with that. This week, I finally hired somebody to develop the website, a company based in Massachusetts, which I'll talk about separately. And I had a conversation with them about branding, and they came up with a concept that I think was dead on, and which is one of the reasons I'm pleased that I had the conversation with them. And the concept they came up with is that my branding is all wrong. The primary website or the primary brand that I should be operating under is my own name, David Klein. If you think about Dr. Phil or Tony Robbins or any of the many motivational speakers that are out there, they operate under their name. So for all intents and purposes, if we look at this as a triangle, I am at the top of the triangle, and the primary domain I should be using is the davidmklein.com domain, which is a good domain, easy to remember, easy to use. Once we have that domain built up, or that is the primary brand, we then look at Fire Your Shrink as a secondary brand, where Fire Your Shrink is my product. And the Fire Your Shrink domain will be used, or the Fire Your Shrink domain can be used for that purpose, but in fact, I think the expectation is that we're going to discontinue use of the Fire Your Shrink domain and simply brand the site as Fire Your Shrink. Branding it will be fine, because when people type in to a search engine Fire Your Shrink, we should, through search engine optimization, be able to bring Fire Your Shrink up to #1. There really is no competition out there using the Fire Your Shrink brand. So the concept is that Fire Your Shrink is my product, or it may be multiple products such as follow-on books. And then the third brand, which is 30-Day Change Challenge, they refer to as my campaign. So in other words, the 30-Day Change Challenge is the current campaign that I am using to sell my product, which is Fire Your Shrink. So what we have is this triangle where I am the brand, Fire Your Shrink is the product, and the 30-Day Change Challenge is my current campaign. And as I thought about that, I thought that makes a lot of sense. And so right now, the way this system is going to be branded, or the way everything is going to be branded online, is going to be done using that triangle. The problem I still have is I don't have a graphic designer to brand each of those 3 logos. Right now, I have actually hired the people that are doing the web development to come up with draft logos for each of my name, Fire Your Shrink, and the 30-Day Change Challenge, and we will see what they come up with. But I'm very concerned that, given my time frame of having the book published by January 15th, that I've got to get good branding, I've got to get done in a hurry, and I haven't been able to find a good graphic designer to do it. We'll see if the person that's doing the cover of the book, if he comes up with good work product. He has told me he has the time to work on the other 3 brands. So I might use him as well as the web developers to run in parallel to come up with the new brands. But right now, my biggest challenge is getting the graphic design done on all of my 3 brands, so that when the website is developed, it looks coherent. That's an update on my branding. I hope to see you in a future video blog entry. See you soon.